Blog Talk Radio.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Sunday night edition of Dead Air. This is Mathew Slozer from Air Paranormal in beautiful Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I hope all of you thoroughly enjoyed our groundbreaking first hour of this show, where we were able to feature the first interview between two spirits, both from the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. to be honest with y'all, I didn't understand a single word that either of them said in this last hour, but I am sure for any of you that were able to listen, it was absolutely fascinating. Anyway, hey everyone, I'm back on. Welcome back to the second hour of the Sunday night edition of Dead Air. I'm a little flustered here because I'm just a little taken aback by our groundbreaking first hour, where I was able to feature the first ever interview between two ghosts. So I personally didn't understand a single word either of them said in the last hour, but I'm sure for any of you that were able to hear it or understand it, it was absolutely fascinating. Anyway, second hour, we have Kelly Wertz from the Paranormal Research and Investigators Society, and I want to give a little kickoff to this in that last week we were talking about the paradrama and having a really good roundtable discussion on the different kind of issues of conflict and things. And Kelly's someone that I've met and who's really a positive person in this area. I've been investigating maybe about 4 or 5 years, and really it's just been in the last year or so where I've actually just started kind of posting things out there and kind of branching out and networking with people. And I've been very fortunate in that with all the negativity and kind of drama that's out there, I've dodged most of it. Not all, but haven't had a whole lot of issues. I know I've mentioned in the past that, one of the concerns I have is somebody just gets started in this field, maybe somebody that could be really passionate about the field and turn around and very early on kind of get their head handed to them by somebody and just say, man, I don't need to deal with this and walk away from it. So fortunately that didn't happen, but you start interacting with people and getting things set up, and then kind of out of the blue I get contacted by Kelly, who was doing a blog, the Friends of PIRS, and what she was doing was getting different groups of people that she had a good opinion of or enjoyed interacting with, and was issuing them questions and kind of going around and using this as a way to kind of communicate and share information in a much more positive way, and just really much more positive impact and just a positive person to deal with. And so I would love to bring on right now Kelly Wertz.
Hi there.
So Kelly, I got to say, what did you think of that first hour?
Hey, I was riveted the whole hour. I just couldn't tear myself away.
It was very, very interesting. Kind of like if you've ever seen that painting Snowman in a Blizzard. That's kind of the same kind of effect. But I'm sure it's very. I got to go back and listen to it, kind of slow it down, speed it up. I'll be able to figure out what they were saying. But they certainly had something they wanted to talk about. But it's great having you on. We've interacted online a couple times, but haven't spoken to you in person before, so
no.
It's great getting to actually speak to you live time. Just for our listeners out there, just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you kind of got involved in the paranormal field to begin with.
Well, it's kind of a fluke. My brother's roommate had gone and he was going to go and investigate someplace, and he's like, oh, do you want to come? And I'm like, oh, whatever, But I became, riveted through the whole thing, and I've always been the weirdo that reads the books about ghosts and stuff like that throughout my whole childhood, and I was always interested, but I never thought I'd get to get out and investigate. So that's how that happened. But I'm personally from Wisconsin. I've been in 2 groups so far, and this one I'm actually co-founder of with Mike Hoke, who's awesome. And we're a great group, really like family, like sisters and brothers, so it's kind of cool. So I've been in this almost 6 years now.
Oh, awesome.
And just it's just a passion. It's sometimes almost all-consuming. I laughed when you posted about how you weren't going to update throughout the night because when you get into investigation, you're really into it. I was like, yes, that is how I am. I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to focus. So I related completely last night when you posted that.
Yeah, I'm really bad in that. It pains me to even stop and do bio break to. It's just I try to maximize every minute, and to each his own, but I get amazed every single time, and this has happened every time I've been at Tala. You have people that travel pretty far distances. I've actually seen plates and stuff from Wisconsin some of the times that I've been there, and that's got to be one heck of a long drive from Wisconsin to West Virginia. But it amazes me how many people get there, and again, to each his own, and maybe some people get a little freaked out, I don't know, but people that spend time just kind of sitting, hanging around like in lobby areas, or then also there's always people in the groups that halfway through the night, so you're there from 9 to 5 or 9 to 4:30 in the morning, and it'll be like 2:30, and there'll be people packing up and going home. Wow, I mean, this isn't like a little place around the corner where you could go anytime you want. I mean, it's
right.
and it's a huge it's a quarter mile long.
Wow.
So it's pretty much a quarter mile long, and there's 4 floors. So it's basically it's about a mile of square footage there to cover. So I've done 11 of them. It's only been probably around the 9th or 10th time where I have felt like I've got the place at least initially covered, although there's still certain areas that I certainly haven't investigated nearly as much as others. But up until probably about like the 9th time, I was leaving there feeling like there was very, very large gaps in areas there to hit. So it's funny. I get pretty intense on that, so I totally understand that. I'm curious then, when you're saying about like your first time, so you kind of weren't into it, and then you went out. So where was the first investigation that you went out on?
It was and it's funny because I've been there now a million times, is the Washington County. They have this old jailhouse and courthouse that used to function until the 60s. And I just was friends with the person that ran the group. I mean, my brother's roommate was friends with the guy who ran the group. And it's just a place that, you get attached to. It's like, so I've been there with this group, and I've been there with now our group, and we do a lot of community work with them. They put on a haunted house every year, and we haunt the place. It's kind of fun to be on the other side and actually haunting something. But and it's just it's for 6 years now. I've been back and forth. It's kind of like home.
Oh, awesome. What was the first? This is kind of a twofold question here.
Okay.
What was because they might be one and the same. So what was the kind of first experience you had that you would consider, this was definitely a paranormal personal experience? And then even if it might be kind of minor, what has been the biggest kind of what I would call a poop moment? Or something even. I mean, I'll tell you, I can share with some people that my biggest poop moment had to deal with a cat, but it has absolutely nothing to do paranormal. But just kind of curious on those two things.
Well, I guess you could say they're sort of one and the same, and actually it sort of happened last weekend when we were at another investigation. But I had gone and helped out my best friend, Alan. He runs Wisconsin Area Paranormal Society, and they're pretty close to where we're out of. And he asked me to come along and help out. And I was standing in the kitchen, and supposedly what had gone on was a little 4-year-old child had died there. And I said something like, sweetie, I'm really sorry it happened to you. Hopefully, you know that we're not here to hurt you. And all of a sudden, I felt like this ice-cold grip on my knees. Like how like a little kid hugs your knees? They run at you and they just grab you and hug your knees. And it almost knocked me to the floor. And that was when I just kind of was like, oh, my gosh. I don't know what this was. I don't know what happened. But it just, that feeling that you get when you know that something has just happened to you that you cannot explain. And then it sort of happened to me again last week. We went to this old tannery, huge, like, place that is just, I mean, we got lost at every turn, but we were standing and we're talking, and all of a sudden I heard a whisper behind me, and I kind of turned around. Well, then all of a sudden it felt like someone had just grabbed me and hugged me in this, like, ice-cold grip. It was really weird. And one of our members, Walter, had a K2 right next to me, and it all around me went off. But the minute he, like, took it away, it was done, nothing. So I was kind of like, oh, I don't know what that was, but it was, you know, one of those moments where you were like, I think something touched me kind of moment. So I guess those are the two that I've had so far.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll share mine really quick just because it's a funny story. So not a funny location. So this was one of the more, and I can't give details on this one because it was a private, but just very, very creepy. Ended up being kind of having, you know, real activity to it. So it already had like an oppressive feel to it, and a lot of the claims had to do with basically I guess it would be considered a shadow figure, but you know, totally dark that you would see even in the light. Okay, so it's you know, totally, you know, black outline person, and so all kinds of stories about this place, and they're sharing a story with us, and I never saw or did I know that they had a black cat. So they're telling us this story, and we're in one of the bedrooms, and this black cat's under the bed. Well, in the middle of telling this whole story about this, you know, black thing that would show up, this cat, and the cat couldn't have done it more choreographed. I mean, it came out slow, but in such a way, it just looked like this black hand coming out from under the bed, even with my shoe. Now, I didn't yell or I didn't do anything, but I looked down and I see this thing, and I'm like, holy crap. I think to myself, and then once I realized it was a cat, you just had this, like, huge exhale, and it was just kind of like, you have that split second going, if this is actually a hand grabbing my foot, I'm going to, you know, flip. But so that's my biggest moment. And just so, I mean, I like making jokes. I always say, you know, we shouldn't take ourselves too seriously. So in my huge archive, or not huge archive, I shouldn't say, in my archive of all the audio things and stuff that I have, I've included this as one of the paranormal things, even though it's not paranormal, because I like to document, you know, my biggest poop moment up to this point. So that was it. It had absolutely nothing to do with anything paranormal. It was a black cat that looked like a hand coming out from under a bed. So.
That's great.
So on the blog things, I just got to add, I think your blog idea, and you can do a better job kind of describing it than I will here, but I just think it's a really, really cool and really, really neat idea, and I would love to see it actually get expanded. But I guess first, kind of tell people a little bit about the blog, and then I'm kind of curious as to you know, what even gave you the idea in the first place. You know, kind of what got that whole thing rolling? Because I just think it's a great idea.
Well, first of all, thank you. How it actually started was, you know, I got into this and I didn't really. I guess Facebook wasn't very big, or I just wasn't into Facebook at the time. And once we got onto Facebook, I was like, all these groups are out there, and I was meeting all these really cool people, but, like, nobody talked amongst each other. I mean, some did, some kind of network, but nobody really interacted. And I met, well, like, my good friend Alan that I met, we met up with him and his friend who's in the group. They showed us around, you know, because they used to investigate in the area where, like, my co-founder Mike and Nate and Scott all live. And it was just the neatest thing that I thought, that they would show us their hot spots, you know, their places that they went to. And I guess I went home thinking, you know, people should know. People should meet these groups. You know, there's some awesomely fascinating people out there, and no one's really, you know, doing anything. So that's where the idea actually came from. And then after I got into it and I started doing, like I did your blog, but then it's like I kind of felt like it was done, but I wanted to keep in contact. So that's when I did start with the round table. And that did go over really, really well. Unfortunately, I was only going to do it for 6 months, but I am starting up again. You will see more blogs, and you'll probably get questions in your email, so watch your email. So I'm going to start that up again, and I want to, because it's just been so much fun, and I've found so many new groups that I want to talk about. And I just felt the need that instead of the drama and your stuff is awful, where our stuff is better, I just felt the need to, throw a positive spin on these groups because they're awesome, and get to know these groups instead of sitting there looking at their evidence saying, oh, you suck. Why don't you get to know them and see where they're coming from? And because I'm a firm believer that everyone has their own goodness, my mind just went blank. They've got their own opinions. And we shouldn't be saying, oh, you're wrong because you believe this and I don't believe it. We should be getting to know each other and building, that little network. And for me, tolerance is a huge thing. And even if you don't agree with me, I can still respect and like you. And that's kind of my personal philosophy. So that's how that all got in.
Well, I know we've shared that. That's my attitude too. So we've shared that before.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. There's so much demonizing going on out there with people that disagree. We don't have to agree on every single issue to not, that doesn't mean we can't be friends, and it doesn't mean that we got to get past this thing of, my position is somehow self-righteous, which means everyone that doesn't hold my position is somehow evil, which is ridiculous. Real quick, if anyone would like to call in to talk to Kelly, our call-in number is 646-929-2384. Speaking with Kelly Wertz tonight. I totally agree with you on this, and it's funny when I started doing this. The whole reason why I even started branching out on Facebook originally was I kept this kind of quiet because I had thought most people would think you're kind of nuts, and even when the shows were going, I still thought that. And then the more and more people that would start finding out I was doing it was like, oh, that's really neat. I'm interested in that, and they would ask for they'd ask me a million questions. And so I decided, I'm like, well, instead there seems to be far more people. It was probably about 4 people thought it was pretty neat and interesting for every one that thought I was nuts. So, I'll go ahead and start sharing this. And I've said this before. Kind of my attitude on this is I'm just going to do what I'm going to do, and if people are interested and like it, great. Because honestly, if nobody follows what I'm doing, if 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people follow, I'm still going to do it because it's something I enjoy doing. And, I'm doing this for my own interests and my own curiosity. And, I love networking with other people and things like this, so I love sharing it. But there's no real ulterior motive to it. There's no, need to feed an ego here and have people go, oh, you're great. It's just a matter of, hey, this is what I'm finding. I like doing this. I was shocked, actually. I honestly thought a lot of the stuff, I always believed in it, but, so, I'm more on I still think it's a spectrum, so I don't think it's like black and white that you're, believer, skeptic, but, I believe, based on a whole bunch of different things, that there is definitely something. What that is up to debate, but there's definitely something. And so I was coming from that standpoint, but I was still really shocked when I started really getting some of the things that I was getting. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then just start sharing more and more of it. And so I think what you're doing is awesome. I wish more groups would actually I think there's probably more that have the positive than the negative outlook. It's just kind of like the squeaky wheel thing. You're going to notice. You could get 20 compliments and get one insult, and that's that one insult that's going to grab your attention probably more than the 20 compliments. So, I think that's part of what's driving part of these things. But, I mean, you're really one of the people out there that's kind of being very proactive in driving the positive things, and that is great. And it's not just the blogs. I know you said that you got your group has been involved in a bunch of community projects and things. Any of those you'd like to tell us a little bit about?
Well, we normally we do the haunted house thing. We set up the old jailhouse and we scare people. It's fun. But one of our members, Nate, he wrote a book called Washington County Paranormal, and that's basically how he got into our group. Was he just wanted to follow us around, and then now he's like a full-fledged investigator. But anyway, they're at the courthouse. They decided to put on an authors weekend and kind of do like a paranormal author like conference. And he's going to talk about his book. And we've got Linda Godfrey, who's just, she's awesome. I've seen her a couple of times talk, and she's going to be there, and another local author is going to be there. And they're just going to open the whole community up to the paranormal so that they can learn more. We're going to give people tours through the jailhouse, which is going to be a lot of fun because I love working. You know how when you get in people that are just so interested in what you do, it's fun because then you get to talk to them and interact with them. So that's kind of what the whole thing's going to be about. And so we're really excited about that, to just share what we do with the community.
That is great. I'm going to put a little plug out here because this is a show I really want to do, but I still got to find somebody that's got expertise in this, because even though I'm very interested in it, I don't think anyone would, for me, go on about it for an hour. And that is, you were saying about how people were talking to people and learning how people view things. There's a book I read a while ago called Please Understand Me, and it's about the whole, if anyone's had I know some employers do this stuff with the Myers-Briggs personality typing. And this thing, I'm not going to dive into it now, but it is absolutely fascinating. If anyone wants to look, there's a bunch of stuff online if anyone's interested in looking at this. But it was really, really eye-opening when you realize that there's 4 main categories and then like 16 subcategories, kind of how people get wired and kind of look at the world, what their motivations are, and how they view things. And it truly is a matter of, not that it's necessarily right or wrong, but people truly view issues and view things from a totally different mindset based on their priorities and based on the things they value. And it truly, to them, will be very different. And looking into this, I can see some of it so obvious in how some of these groups behave, that you can almost, without ever meeting the people, you can almost, at least in the 4 main categories, you can say, okay, this person is, an NT, or this person is an SJ, because it's just very, very interesting. And in a really quick nutshell, out of those 4, there's one group that's basically like the rule. The rule is the rule. You have to follow the rules. You have to follow the protocols. And if you should do this, and I get a star for this, that's good. I want to get the recognition for being and that's fine. And then you have the groups that just want action. So they're the ones that are going to want to run into these locations. They may never document a single thing, but they just want to run and experience. So I want to experience this. I want to experience that. And once I experience it, it's done. Then you got kind of the analytical scientific type that want to kind of break the whole thing down and figure out what's making it tick. And they kind of fall in between the two, in that they like to get all the different experiences, and they like some of the protocol things, but they don't get too brought down into it. And then you have the other type that's more of like the interpersonal. So they're the ones that are going to be, their focus is going to be on, we need to help and you'll even hear these quotes, we need to help the client, or we need to help these are spirits that need help, we need to help them. So it's, none of these things are wrong, but it's just where people put the emphasis. And it's much more complex than I just, I gave the little 10-second Cliff Note version. But I think that would make a very interesting, if I had somebody that knew a lot about that, a very interesting show of those 4 personality breakdowns, and kind of how, because I really think it explains a heck of a lot of the drama out there in more objective terms than this style is wrong, this style is right. But your approach is awesome, and if you foster the dialogue and you have these things going, and I love that, at least from what I've seen on the blog, you've had, I don't know if it's from the way you weeded through the teams or not, but, it has stayed positive. You don't have, this person weighed in this way on the round table, but they don't know what they're talking about. And I mean, at least from what I've seen, I don't know if you've had any of that in the background, but at least I haven't seen any of that. So it's been really, really, really a good thing, and I would encourage, any groups that are out there listening, even live or in the archives, we'll pass on Kelly's contact information and her group's information. Anyone that's interested in participating in that, either receiving it or, answering some of the questions and things, we'll certainly get that information out there, and hopefully you don't get overwhelmed with it. But I think it is really a really, really positive thing.
Well, thanks. I would love it because, to go on the positive thing, I shouldn't probably admit this, but I almost become like a Facebook stalker. I go through everything. I read. I learn all about the group because we're not doing that. You know, some of us, we kind of look at people, oh, they're idiots, they post this stuff, or, oh, you know, they don't post much, so they must not really be into it. But if you really dig and you really look into what these groups do, you find some amazing people. And so, yeah, I kind of become almost like a Facebook stalker. I go in and I look at the website, and I'm looking at everything, you know. And some of it is just hilarious because some of the stuff that they post it's nothing to do with the paranormal, but it's hysterically funny. So I've gotten entertainment out of it as well. So I enjoy it, and I will be starting them up again. So, yeah, bombard me. I'm ready. Send me a group.
Well, I think we share a similarity in this too, and so I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here, but I can give you a little time. You know, I think it's very interesting. I think this is kind of where you're. I don't want to speak for you, but it seems like kind of where you're pointing on this too is that, you know, it's not just a matter of protocols and evidence and things, and that there's human beings doing these things, and the human beings have different kind of stories, and, you know, we're all different and coming in from different. So just kind of kicking over for the audience, people want to know Kelly Wertz. What's an interesting personal non-ghost thing, but obviously not digging into too personal things that you can share? You know, what's something that can help audience know a little more about Kelly and even your team?
Well, let's see. I help run a spa where we do like massages and stuff like that. So my work life is very calming, somewhat, until we get goofy people in. I'm like a rabid knitter in the wintertime. I have a passion for everything I do, and it drives my poor husband crazy because I am very impulsive as well. And so I jump into things, and I do, you know, just with everything I've got. And the poor man just sits back and has to watch the train wreck happen. But, I'm not used to talking about myself. I'm used to asking people questions.
No, it's fun. Well, I'm going to sound like the Facebook stalker here now because I'm trying to remember. Are you from, or did you live in Pennsylvania at all?
No.
At any point? No? Okay.
No.
All
no,
right.
I've got really good friends out there, but nope.
I thought when I was looking at the team things, I saw something. Well, maybe it was where they're based at. I thought I saw Music, PA on something, but that's fine.
Nope, not me.
my long list of paranormal stalkers as I do show, or paranormal stalkies as I do my show prep here. All right, yeah, because you say I'm originally from PA, so that had a common thing there. Well, okay, I'll ask this too because I'm always curious about this. Even though I grew up in Pennsylvania, and I'll be the first to admit I am a gigantic winter weather wimp. I hate the winter. I hate cold. We were in Tallow last night, and actually it wasn't too bad, but again, you get up in the fourth floor, and it's kind of like investigating in an attic. So, you know, it's hot.
Mm-hmm.
Last year when we were at Old South Pittsburgh, it was like 102 outside. I can deal with heat, no problem. I mean, it does not. Mm-hmm. I still am psycho, you know, running around the place. And I did St. Albans, and it was like 22, and I was still pretty much psycho investigator, but was kind of struggling much more than I did when it was 102. So I'm just kind of curious, because I know your blood changes, and you kind of perceive the temps different and everything, and certainly people, and I traveled to Minnesota a fair amount, you know, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, that whole area, y'all can really tolerate pretty much anything winter can throw at you. But I am curious about the whole investigating in winter versus, because I know it still gets pretty hot up there in the summer, so kind of curious of, unless every location you go to is heated, which I will add. I'm just going to quick add this as somebody from Pennsylvania. One thing I will say versus the north versus the south in the winter is when I was up north and it's cold outside, you go inside and you get heat and you get to warm up. Down here, I will say, when it is cold outside, it is cold everywhere. I don't think I've been here 8 years. I don't think I've walked into one warm and toasty building in the winter. It's just, I don't know if it's insulation or just the heating systems aren't built to take it, but I mean, even if it's only in the 20s outside, inside the houses and inside the buildings and stuff, it pretty much stinks for heat. But anyway, so I was just kind of curious as to any differences or anything that you've noticed or approached differently in kind of middle of winter in Wisconsin versus doing an investigation in the summer, other than obviously you need to change clothes.
Yeah. I guess we are just so used to the cold, and I'll be honest, as I've gotten older and in my 40s now, I have become less tolerant of the cold. And the funny thing is I've actually looked at moving to North Carolina or South Carolina, somewhere in that area, or even Georgia. But I don't think I can handle the heat. But we, I guess we just don't notice the difference because, like you said, when most of the places we go to are heated, and if it's somewhere that doesn't have heat, unless it's like one of those emergencies where, you know, we're called in by a family, which normally they would have heat anyways, we just don't go. I mean, it's cold. I mean, I can handle below zero weather, but I don't know. I don't think that I've ever been on an investigation where we didn't have heat. So
okay. Well,
not much
difference. That kind of leads to the next thing. And again, I think this has to do somewhat with the different personality types too. There's a whole big spectrum of that kind of breakdown between kind of historic locations versus private locations, and even there's some drama because people will start editorializing over, you know, which ones you should be emphasizing and stuff. Your team, if you had to give like a rough breakdown of, you know, private home versus kind of historical or commercial type, or I shouldn't even say commercial, difference being kind of private client wanting you to come in to investigate versus kind of historic location or, you know, battlefield, you know, that type of thing. What would you say your breakdown is roughly? Do you do mostly private?
Well, we've been getting a lot of private lately, but I would have to say it's mostly been the historical. With Nate writing the book, he's been in contact with I don't know how many different places, and they've invited us in that way, and it's been mostly the historical. But lately, I have to tell you, we're probably working on 3 or 4 different private ones right now. So it bounces back and forth. I'd have to say it's probably 50-50 at this point right now. But we're always ready to head into a private residence and help because, you know, a lot of these people are really scared. And, you know, if we can help out, we're going to drop everything that we're doing and help them.
Awesome. Now, for people not familiar with Wisconsin, because I got to even be honest here, unless you throw one out here that I'm going to be like, oh, okay. You know, as far as famous locations, haunted location, you know, nothing jumps to mind when you mention Wisconsin. So I'm just kind of curious as to, you know, what are some of the neat locations there, and is there anything for anybody that might be in possibly neighboring states or willing to do a road trip, anything up there that's kind of has open investigations or that you know accepts teams or anything for anyone kind of interested in visiting Wisconsin?
Oh, there's a couple. Actually, one that we're heading to in September, gentleman by the name of Justin. He purchased this old schoolhouse in Wisconsin Rapids. It's called First Ward Schoolhouse, and he purchased it, and he's trying to fix it up. Well, they had a lot of activity. You know how it happens when you start renovating and stuff. And so he started inviting groups in, and we're actually going to be going there in September to help out because he's doing kind of like a paranormal conference, inviting different people in to raise funds so that he can keep the restoration going. We've been to, like, the Tannery in Berlin. They like to send groups through. That one's a really interesting place, a lot of different experiences. That's where I kind of felt like I got grabbed, and, you know. So those are the 2 big ones. And then there's a couple of ones, like in Milwaukee. There's a bar. I don't know that they want groups coming through, but it's definitely a history that they'll share with you. And it's called Shaker's Cigar. I think Cigar Bar, I think is what they call it. But there's not a lot of, like we're heading to Villisca, that's like big, Iowa. You mentioned Iowa, boom, Villisca, and you mentioned West Virginia, boom, you got Tala, it's just, I guess we just don't have that draw, but there's a lot of places that don't advertise that really lets groups go through, so you kind of have to dig through and find stuff in Wisconsin, so.
I do think, as long as somebody doesn't do something incredibly dumb and, ends up getting themselves killed, I do think this is something that will continue to increase. I mean, when you think about it, if you are if you have a location and it's at least reasonably safe and you need to raise funds to help refab the location, why wouldn't you let people in, especially people, willing to pay you money to get in. And it's even beyond the paranormal. If you ever go on there and see, there's that guy who has the opacity site and some of these other ones where it's just like photographers that just want to come in and document these old locations for some of the things. And not even, it's not even so it's even broader than just the paranormal side. So, I might be being a little too overly optimistic here, but I really think it's something that will expand with time, not contract. At least I hope so. And it's been very interesting at Tala, as I've been able to see over the years going up there, as as they've been able to run more and more tours and do things, they're able to fix more and more of that building. So that's neat to see. And then the other piece of it is, a lot of these areas, whether it's a paper mill town or a state hospital like Tala or something, so much of the economy is built on that. Then that goes away, the whole economy tanks. And it's been really neat to see that town bounce back. There's more and more businesses there every time I go up there. And part of that is just the tourism that's getting driven from that place and putting more money back into that location. So it can have even a broader benefit than just being able to help that one building. It is, there really is a viable market here. And so I truly hope it expands, and that's why I kind of like to give plugs. If there's kind of hidden gems out there that people don't know about, kind of give that plug for that area. So
the thing that we found in Wisconsin is people are very private. I don't know why, but they just don't want the publicity, I guess you could call it. But it's getting better, and we found a lot more people that are willing to open up their doors and let us come through. So it's a process, but I think we'll eventually get there, where it's more acceptable and people can come in I was talking to the lady that owns Villisca, and she couldn't live, on just what she's doing, and this is like helping her live. And to me, I find that, almost like justification of, paying money to go in and do stuff. So just my thoughts on that one.
Along those lines, and I ask everybody this one, but investigation bucket list. So, what are a couple of the spots that just, and I'll even put on this, it doesn't have to be realistic. It can be, either not realistic in terms of they don't let people in, or not realistic in terms of I'm never going to be able to get to that location. Because I'll add, my number one is Pavalia in Venice, and I highly doubt I'm ever going to get out onto Pavalia. Anyway, your bucket list.
All right. Well, okay, my fantasy one, because I know I'm not going to get there either, is Romania to see Countess Bathory's castle. I don't know why, how it happened, but I became obsessed with that. I've got books on her. I don't know, but that would be my fantasy one. Now, I am actually crossing one off of my bucket list in 1 week. We're going to Villisca, and then I'm hoping next year to get to Tala, because that's my second one. My third one would have to be, oh my goodness, my mind just went completely blank. It's in Louisiana.
Myrtles?
Yes, my brother stayed there for a weekend.
Oh, cool.
Oh my goodness, he's Mr. Skeptic. Doesn't believe anything that we do. Blah blah blah. Well, he was chasing after a ghost cat. He heard, just a whole party going on, and there was no one there. So I think that place made him a believer. So that would be my 3.
Awesome. Again, a quick add on that, and you said about the skeptic. That's pretty cool if he saw, ghost cats. And so did he? Did that actually change his attitude then, staying there?
Yeah, it did. It really did. And he no longer thinks I'm a freaky, crazy person anymore. So that was kind of cool.
Oh, that's awesome. And I know you can't generalize, but it's been my general philosophy on all this that that your hardcore skeptics are going to come up with an explanation for absolutely everything. Well, it could be this, or it could be. I mean, it's funny in that I've had people ask me with the Trans-Allegheny, anyone that's been there, and when you finally get to go down there, you can see how humorous this is, of asking if, well, couldn't they just pop wire speakers and be pumping voices into the place. And when you just look at the logistics of it and the fact that they're trying historically to save the roof, to get the roof repaired so to minimize the structural damage, and doing a great job. I mean, that place is getting in better and better shape every year. But obviously, their priorities are saving the building, not the thousands and thousands of dollars it would take to, I don't even know logistically, since you don't even pick up most of these audio. Just that whole concept of a building that's basically a mile of square footage, rigging speakers and things. But again, the hardcore skeptic will say that. And then I've seen the other side too, that I could stick my finger on the lens of a camera and take a picture and have that fingerprint on there, and people go, I see a ghost. So you have the two extremes, and so. I just find it very interesting, but in some cases, I guess maybe it takes a ghost cat or a black cat jumping out from under a bed to get somebody's attention and get them. So have you run into any? And again, without getting into details on things on this, I'm just curious on your overall experience then in the paranormal, because you are definitely doing something very positive and having a positive influence on this. Have the majority of your experiences been more on the positive side, or have you run into the paradrama, and if so, how do you deal with it? Because you obviously have maintained a really good attitude with everything.
I'm kind of like you. I haven't really run into it too strongly. I did have. And it was probably my own doing, but I knew of a controversial group, and I tried to reach out and contact them and say, hey, I do this blog, and they hated the whole paranormal unity thing, and they mocked it constantly, but I thought, I'd like to hear someone else's side, and he was pretty vicious with me, but I was just like, okay, that's great, that's how you feel, whatever. I guess I go into it with, I'll listen to your opinion, but you're not gonna hurt my feelings. I'm not gonna allow you to hurt my feelings or take it personally. That whole thick skin thing. You really gotta develop it. And I work with the public, so I have to have a thick skin. If I didn't, I'd be a raving lunatic. So I guess it's just one of those things where I don't let it bother me. And I've had a couple of experiences where I've had some pretty nasty things. And it's just like I know that what they're saying isn't true, so I don't let it bother me. If it's someone that I personally know, I'm gonna talk to them. But if it's someone that just randomly wants to pick on the group or what I do, you let it roll right off the back, because it's at the end of the day, it's just not worth it. And that's basically how I go about it. I don't let it bother me.
That is a great attitude. I can't say I'm as good with that piece of it, but one thing I have done, and I know you've seen this because I've ranted on this enough times on my page, is just, and it is very kind of liberating, is just, I'm not going to give somebody the hammer to hit me with, and so I may have to deal with a very short-term bit of negativity, but my whole thing, life's too busy, life's too short, I got way too much stuff going on than to be sucked into destructive things. And it's been my whole theme on the paradrama is, even if you disagree on things, don't let that knock you off your game. Concentrate on doing your stuff and don't worry about what the other guy's doing or what the other guy's saying. So I for the most part, just kind of vote them off the island and just
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna be too much of a negative influence in my life, I can move on. Life's too short, and I haven't had to do it too often, but I've had to do it on a couple paranormal things. I've had some mine have been weird. I haven't had a whole lot of them, but they've been like odd things, like one almost trying to like sabotage our team, pretending to be like a client type thing. And that was a weird one, but it went away quick. And then another friend of mine actually had I think he was a blogger as well. I don't even know if he called himself a minister, but I don't really know if he was, or if and just sending just nasty stuff to this other team. And so I kind of helped weigh in and helped argue on their side. But then I pretty much purged that guy right away then too. Cause I'm like, I don't need to wake up to a daily nasty email telling me I'm going to hell. So but yeah, it's good to stay on that and keep on going. And so I just got a message here saying that I'm supposedly on for 24 hours and 11 minutes. we're not gonna stay on that long. We're actually gonna wrap up pretty soon. But it's been very, very that's been very, very interesting. But before, just in case, before we run out of time, I want to make sure everybody out there that's listening gets your contact information. So if you could please share with us, your websites or Facebook page, anything you would like to kind of pass on out there to the audience who would like to get in touch with you, your team, or about your blog.
Sure. Well, we're on Facebook right now. We have someone building a website for us, and it's not done yet. So when that is, I will put that on our Facebook. But I'm going to post our link right here in the chat right now as I do that. We are at PIRS Wisconsin on Facebook. You can look me up. All my information's under there. Mike Hoke, he's my other co-founder and the poor man that has to put up with my lunacy sometimes. And the blogs, I've got them at blog.com, and you can just do a search for PIRS. I will be starting them up, and hopefully once we get our website up, I'll have the blogs just there so that I ran out of room. That was my other thing. I ran out of space on the one site, so I had to totally restart a new one because I used too much.
Oh, wow. And I'll also just kind of kick it out there, get in touch with Kelly if you would be interested in the roundtable piece. Yeah. And certainly, I've certainly enjoyed doing it, and I've certainly enjoyed reading kind of how other teams and other people view things on this as well. And I'll also kind of throw a plug over to you when we do these roundtables here on the. I'm still hoping to do maybe about once a month, kind of a roundtable topic like we did last week. So you will certainly be welcome to come on and be one of our panelists.
Oh, I'd love that. I tell you, I loved it. I was so excited because Rebecca and Ken are two people I am like a huge fan of, so I was so excited to hear them talk, and it was awesome. I sat there the whole 2 hours and was just so excited. It was great. I loved it.
Thank you. I really enjoyed doing it, and it's like one of those deals you never know, especially when you start talking about something fairly controversial. You never know, which way things are going to go. But it was good, and it was very constructive, and I want to build on that with some not only some future paradrama ones, but some other topics too. Just to get same kind of idea you have is just this see how other people think about things, see how other people view different things, and kind of drive this whole idea of we don't have to agree to just to be civil. And I think we can. I think basic thing is you can be more than civil. But, I mean, just to be civil, you don't have to agree. You don't have to even like someone to at least treat them with respect as a fellow human being. But, on a lot of these things, just because, I don't know, just because you think a Ouija board's a Parker Brothers game and I think it's the gateway to hell doesn't mean that we need to hate each other's guts. And, it's so silly and so, in my opinion, like third-grade stuff that, but I think the only way you get through this, and it's not even really paranormal, I do this on my site with, other things as well. It's not just it's all issues in general, and I think partially groups that have something to gain from it have tried to push people to two extremes, so that it's like you're either with us or you're with them. When in reality, most of these issues, it all falls in between the two things, and it's a matter of finding common ground and finding areas where people can build on things. And I think that's where we need to go as teams, is not be screaming at people and tearing people's heads off, and but just kind of finding some common ground. But sorry, that was my little soapbox.
No, I'm totally agree. I think tolerance is just one of the things that we've lost, that talent of having the tolerance to listen and respect other people's opinions. We don't all have to agree. If we all agreed, this world would be really boring. I would be bored to tears. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you very much for coming on tonight, Kelly. And
thank you for having me.
And definitely keep in mind for futures on the roundtables and things. And anyone out in the chat room, feel free to send us any questions. And what I'm going to do is let everyone know that starting next week, we are going to launch Sunday Night Dead. So a little bit of a different take on this show, but I'll still be here doing the interviews and things. But we have just launched a group on Facebook for the Sunday Night Dead show. So links and information and things will be on there if anyone wants to go over there and check it out and follow that out. And what we'll also start doing on that as well, if any follow-up questions from either hearing the archives or live after the show. If you have any other questions that somebody thought of after the fact and didn't get a chance to ask, go ahead and post those questions on that site, and we will do follow-up either online or we can even, if it's something that people really, really want to talk about, we can bring it up again on the show. So, again, thank you very much, Kelly, and we are going to just really quick, I want to put a little thing in here. Those spirits ran long in the first hour, so I didn't get a chance to talk about the No Guts, No Gory at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, but I've been at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital a couple times. It is another awesome location, and we have a great show lined up there, or event lined up at Old South Pittsburgh with a whole bunch of people. So I am going to play the promo because they'll do a better job than me, and then we'll be right back.
68,000 square feet, 2 miles from the only ley line in Tennessee, consisting of a psych ward, a surgical suite, labor and delivery room, nurseries and maternities, geriatrics, a body box and body hold, a morgue, and many other dark places for dark things to lay in wait. From the screams of the patients to the cries of children, from the former staff to a dark, sinister shadow man. These are things that go bump in the night. There are unseen forces at work. There are monsters in every closet. This is Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. Come investigate the dark halls and dark rooms of a hospital with a dark past, alongside with Dave Schrader of Darkness Radio and Paranormal Challenge, Ben Hansen of Factor Faked Paranormal Files, EVP specialists Mark and Debbie Constantino, and demonologist Carl Johnson, Mad TV star and Celebrity Paranormal Project participant Deborah Wilson, and many more. 7 lectures over the event, vendors' booths, and a celebrity meet and greet. Be the brave soul to stay overnight until 11 a.m. the next morning, or be the next patient. Dead Air Paranormal presents No Guts, No Gory at the Old South Pittsburgh Hospital in Tennessee, October 11th, 12th, and 13th, 2012. Tickets are on sale now at www.deadairparanormal.com. Tickets are limited. No guts, no gory at the Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. It'll bring a brand new meaning to the term
really quick say, guys, here that it looks like we got back on schedule with our show, and they're going to cut us off in about 10 seconds here. So thank you, everyone, for listening. This, again, was the Sunday night edition of Dead Air. Thank you very much.